Hi everyone, welcome back. Hope you all enjoyed the employer booths and got chatting to everyone. We're ready for our next presentation now, and we've got a super exciting one coming up. We have Steve Talbot with us, a partner at BDO, and Steve's going to take us through his career story, and this one's called From Dropout to Partner. So I think we're in for quite an interesting career story from you, Steve. As always, do feel free to ask any questions in the chat. I'll be going through them. And this presentation is running till about 12:30, so hopefully we'll have time for questions at the end as well. But I'll leave you to it, Steve. Best of luck, and I'm sure everyone's really looking forward to hearing from you.
Cheers, Emma. Thank you. Afternoon, everybody. So, as Emma said, I'm Steve Talbot. I am a tax partner at BDO, and I didn't have what some would call a traditional route to becoming a tax partner. So, from dropout to tax partner sounds a bit scary, if you like, but there are various reasons for that. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself, and feel free to ask questions, and I'll happily share as best I can. So when I went to school, I wanted to be an accountant for some reason. So I did my work experience in an accountancy firm, and I realised that it was interesting, but it wasn't for me, so I wanted to do something else. And then I went to finish school, got good grades, went to college to do A levels, and I decided that I wanted to do something in sports. And so I went to college at 16, and then all of a sudden my girlfriend at the time told me she was pregnant, and then that kind of put paid to going to college. So I left college, hence being a dropout, and I continued to work, and I was working at the wonderful McDonald's, the Golden Arches. So I worked there full time as a 16-year-old and got up to be a manager. So it was good money, flexible, and people had said to me, "You'll never go back because the money's good, it's easy, so you'll just end up working there all your life." And it's like, okay, fine. So a year after, I went back to college, but because we had a young child, I couldn't go and do those traditional courses where you've got to put loads of effort in at home. It was literally, whilst I'm at college, I need to be able to do stuff that's measured whilst I'm at college. So I did the A-level equivalents, which again people would look down their nose at. Oh, it's not a proper A-level, which that's a load of rubbish. It is a proper A-level. And so I did the equivalents, and I did it in computer programming, and then also accountancy and finance, and did that whilst working full time. So I was full time at college, full time at McDonald's still, and also trying to find time to look after a small child and bring them up, which was interesting. It was hard, but you just get on and you do these things. Once I'd finished college, I decided again that I actually liked accountancy. I'd grown up a little bit more, so I was looking for an accountant's role. And at the time, what my recruiter had said, "Oh, you've got an interview at a company called Deloitte." And at 19 years old, I was like, "Okay, that's great. Who are Deloitte?" So she said, "Look, you really want to go for that interview." So I went for that interview, and that was to do tax, not accounting. And that was probably one of the best decisions I ever made, because I really liked the firm, I really liked the culture, liked the people, and they offered me a job. So at 19 years old, I joined Deloitte, and in doing personal tax and employment tax in 2001. And by that time, in 2001, my girlfriend was expecting our second child. So I was 19, already had a child, and another child on the way. So what that meant was when I left, I had to leave McDonald's obviously to take the Deloitte role, but I was taking a massive pay drop to go to Deloitte, because I knew that long term that would be the right thing to do, but short term it meant we didn't have as much money. So for the first 12 months of working at Deloitte, I also then got a part-time job at Asda. So I worked as a new starter at Deloitte, working 9 till 5:30. I'd then jump on my scooter, go to the local Asda and work there 6 o'clock till midnight, and also work Saturday and Sunday 9 while 6 to get money just to take me back up to the level I was on before I joined Deloitte. So again, lots of hard work, 2 kids then, and obviously a very understanding girlfriend at the time. So we continued to get on. I worked my way up through the Deloitte ranks, and you know, once I'd got that promotion after the first year, I had enough money to stop working at Asda. So we had the same money, but I had a bit more of a life at that point. And then I continued just working hard at Deloitte, working my way up through the ranks. And you know, after 10 years at Deloitte, I'd got to the level of manager, pushing for senior manager, and that's all I knew. I'd only known Deloitte. It was a fantastic firm. I had some great training, some great experiences there, but I wanted to see what else there was. And I had some various interviews. I had a conditional offer from PwC, but I thought, you know, it'd be exactly the same. You know, moving from Deloitte to PwC, it'd be exactly the same. But I also had a very interesting offer from BDO and this was back in 2011. And in 2011, BDO in Leeds it'd only been in Leeds for 8 years. So you were leaving the second largest accountancy company in the world to go to BDO, who were a top 10, but in Leeds, they were only really, really small. So I went and met the partners, and I really, really liked the partners, and they're still there now. And it was a case of, well, what do you want from me? And they said, can you grow a team? And I said, yeah, okay, let's see if we can give that a go. So I remember handing my notice in at Deloitte, and I did it in my appraisal that year. And I thought, well, do you know what? If Deloitte have promoted me to senior manager, then I'm going to stay. If they're not, then I'm going to accept the BDO offer. And lo and behold, I had the normal discussion around, yep, you've done really, really well. You met your objectives. But unfortunately, the economical climate's not that good. So we're going to keep you as a manager for another year, but here's a small pay rise. So at that point, that was decision made for me. I decided to accept the BDO offer. So I left Deloitte, joined BDO with a view to grow the team. So when I came over to BDO, on employment taxes, which is what I do, we had the team was half a person, so a part-time person, and that was it. They'd previously got the fees up to about 200-300 grand on someone that had left prior to me to join PwC. And so it was a challenge to get it back up there. And so in the next 10 years, we've grown the team from that half a person in Leeds to a team of 11 people. We cover employment tax, we cover shares, we cover expat, we cover national minimum wage. So we've got a proper team of 11 people that covers everything that we could possibly cover on global employer services, which is what our title is. And it was steady and steady and steady. And when I first came over to BDO, my parents used to look after the children for us. So that meant my wife could work and I could work. We didn't have any childcare costs. And people that listen to this might be thinking, well, so what about childcare costs? But that meant that there was about an extra £650 a month we had to find. So all of a sudden, because when my mum and dad looked after them, we had no childcare costs, they decided to up sticks and go to Canada, which then meant we had no childcare. So we had to put them in after school clubs, nurseries, etc. So again, at that point, I then took a part-time job in a bar, just to work some extra hours, get some extra cash to help fund paying for the extra childcare. Now, don't get me wrong, you know, we were well paid, but when the more money you earn, the more money you spend. Simple as that. So, you know, we liked holidays. We didn't want to cut them down. So I worked an extra job until I got another pay rise. And so continued to work. And then in 2014, so I'd been at BDO for 3 years. I then progressed to being a director of the team. And the partner at the time said, you know what, in a couple of years, you could be a partner. And at this stage, I thought, whoa, that's crazy. I never thought about that. when I first started out in 2001, I sat there and I thought, you know what, the perfect grade to be would be a manager, because you've got enough responsibility, but there's people above you that can take the rubbish, and there's people below you, so you're in the perfect position. But what I found was the more and more I went through the process, the more and more I actually felt, do you know what, I can do what they can do. I can do that. So let's keep going. Because if you haven't got a degree and you haven't got, you know, A levels and all these wonderful things, you can feel in this profession like you don't really belong. But I'm quite proud of my background and my upbringing. So my dad was in the army. My mum met my dad in the army. My mum was a special needs teacher. We didn't come from, you know, a fantastic background, a fantastic upbringing, but we still got there. So when Terry had said to me, you could be a partner in a couple of years, I thought, wow, what do I need to do that then? So he said it out, and then 3.5 years ago, I actually became a partner at BDO. So at that stage, I was just turned 36. So I'd gone from not going to university, having kids at a young age, having quite a lot of adversity throughout the career, to being a partner at 36 in the 5th largest accountancy company in the world, which is mental. It's madness. So I carried on doing a good job, and then 18 months ago, so my remit was looking after Leeds, which is fine. I was born in Leeds, but grew up in Germany, and came back to Leeds, so I was happy to be in charge of Leeds. But then they said, Steve, you've done a great job in Leeds, so why don't we stretch where you're looking after? So now I look after the whole of the north of England. So that's Birmingham, Manchester, Liverpool, Nottingham, Leeds, Scotland. That's what I look after now. So I'm the partner across all that place for the employment tax team. We've got a team of over 20, and it's brilliant, you know. And this is all from not a standard upbringing or a standard career route, where most people sit there and go, oh, you've got to go to university, you've got to do this. And one of the most humbling things that I've seen is, so my daughter is now, my eldest daughter is now 23. And when she got to 16, I did the whole thing that a lot of parents do and said, well, you got to go get A levels, you got to go to university, you know, you got to do these things. And she went to do A levels, hated them, did something else, finished that, hated it, did something else, hated it. And she was about 19 and we'd gone for a drink together. And I was like, look, come on, Chloe, you really need to pull your socks up here. You need to be doing something. You should be going to university, you should be doing this. And we sat there, and she's not very, you know, outgoing and stuff, but she sat there and said, Dad, do you know what? You didn't. And it kind of stopped me in my tracks to say, well, yeah, actually, why am I trying to force this standardized route on you when I didn't go? I didn't go do that. So, and I've still got to a really good position. I'm quite privileged to be in this position. So why would I then try and force it on my daughter? When she said that, I thought, do you know what? You're absolutely right. And at that point, it was like, well, what do you want to do? So she chose something. She's done it. She has now then gone to university, and she finishes this next year, which is fine. But it took her a couple of years to decide what she wanted to do, and that's okay. That's absolutely fine. My other daughter, she decided that she wants to do an apprenticeship. So she left school. She's done an apprenticeship. She's flying. She's doing amazingly. I've also now got a 9-year-old as well. We decided to have another child and do it a bit more proper when we're a bit older, as well. So I've kind of learned as well, you don't need to worry about where you're from or what you do. It's how you do it and what you want to achieve. And, you know, one thing I'd say is the people that said to me, you'll never amount to anything, you'll never get there, you'll never do this, they're just wrong. You can just ignore them. You don't need to even listen to them. It's about what you want to do and how you do it. And if you set out your mind to do something, you can just go and do it. It's hard work, yeah, it's hard work, but do you know what? You don't get anything without a little bit of hard work. So now I'm in the privileged position that I grow the team and I can recruit people. So every year for the past 7 years, we have recruited a graduate or we've recruited a school leaver into the team to give them the opportunities that I've had. And, you know, what I'd say is, if you recruit bright people that want to work hard and you give them good training, they can succeed and they can be brilliant. We've got some fantastic people in our team now, and it's brilliant. And it's all about remembering that, you know, everyone's got a different route into their career, be it a school leaver, be it someone that's gone to university. But just treat them individually, treat them fairly. You know, put the training and effort into it and make them work hard, because that's all I've done. I'm not the brightest person in the world, but I will work hard. I've got a lot of common sense. But, you know, when people give me stuff to do, I'll go do it. So I always remember when I went to my work experience job as a 15-year-old, and guess what? You got the filing, you got the tea making skills. And, you know, but my mentality was, well, do you know what? Once I've done all the filing, I'll go get something else. So let me do the filing, do it really, really well. Right, I've done that. What else can I have? So I rattled through all the work that they had for me for the 3-week period in the first 2 days. And I was like, right, what else can I do? Give me something to do. And once you've done all the rubbish, you then start getting good stuff. But you have to appreciate you've got to do some of the rubbish as well before you can then do the good stuff. So, you know, I sit there and think it's, you know, you can be whatever you want to be. You can have whatever career path you want to have. And you don't have to follow one set route. You really don't have to follow one set route. You can do it how you want to do it. And there's routes into places. You can still end up in a really good job. And yeah, you know, I've had lots of. I could go on forever and ever about some of the other adversities we faced throughout the time. You know, raising 2 children, teenage daughters. Because anyone that's had a teenage daughter, they're pretty tough. They're pretty tough to deal with. But you can still do stuff. So, you know, my passion is football. I used to play to a very high standard when I was younger. I've still been able to do that. I'm a UEFA B football coach. I coach every weekend, 30 odd kids. I've done it for 15, 20 years. So I've still managed to do what I want to do personally, while I can achieve what I wanted to do professionally. And, you know, I didn't have that degree. I didn't have those A levels. People can look down the nose at you for that, but do you know what? It doesn't matter. So, you know, I've been talking now for a good 20 minutes. Hopefully people have got some questions that they might want to ask me. So if that's the time to open up the questions. I'll just. Emma's just on her way. Hopefully I've given you enough of an insight into me, so you can feel free to ask any questions you'd like. I'll try and be as honest as I can. Hi, Emma.
Hey, Steve. That was amazing. So inspirational. And I feel like we cannot question your work ethic. My God, I feel like I worked hard listening to all of those part-time jobs, and the analogy around kind of, if you're going to be doing filing, just do the best work at filing and you'll be given something else. I love that. I think having part-time jobs, you know, when you're a student or when you're younger, I think sometimes when you come from a working class background, or you come from, you know, less privilege, you don't always realise how important that is and how transferable that is.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really interesting thing, because so often it's, you know, what kind of work experience have you got, but actually, you know, working in McDonald's is just as good sometimes. You learn from it.
Absolutely. And Emma, I've always been proud. So I met my wife at McDonald's, you know.
Yeah. Or we might have lost you there, Steve. I think we might have lost Steve for a minute. 1 sec and we'll check what's going on. Steve, if you can still hear us, do you want to just leave and come on back in? Because we've got loads of great questions to ask you. I feel like he was on a roll then as well. What a guy. Okay, we'll see how he's getting on. Let's have a look. Okay, I'll pop off, and then hopefully we can get Steve back up to answer those questions. Hi everyone, we're trying to get Steve back on because we really want to ask all those amazing questions, but we're having a little bit of trouble. We think maybe his internet might have dropped off. I mean, these things happen on virtual events, don't they? But if we can get Steve back in the next couple of minutes, we'll try and get him on to answer those questions, but it's looking like his internet might have gone down. So I think that was such a great session, and also such a good case study for social mobility, you know, working really hard from the start, not going down the conventional route, and now is a partner at BDO. And I think a couple of really good takeaways from that as well is just looking at your work experience, whatever that is, whether it's you've done an internship at a large corporate, or whether it's that you've worked a part-time job. All of those things are amazing, and the skills and the transferable skills that you'll get from that experience, no matter what it is, will be really useful in job applications in your future career. So don't underestimate life experience as well as corporate or work experience. There's quite a lot of questions through that obviously Steve isn't here to answer, and I'm afraid I am not an expert on a couple of these specific questions around BDO's application process. But the employer booths are open if you did want to ask any questions specifically to BDO about that. And we are going to be back here very shortly, so 3:50 we're going to be back to hear from Clyde & Co, a law firm, all around their journey to getting a training contract, those very, very prestigious training contract. So feel free to join us back here at 3:50. Fingers crossed for no tech glitches. And in the meantime, do have a chat in the employer booths. Hopefully we can get Steve in there for BDO, but there's lots of other employers to talk to that are all really keen to have a chat with you. So we'll see you back here at 3:50 for Clyde & Co. Hopefully we can get another cameo from Steve. But in the meantime, anything else you want to chat through, just pop it in the chat box in the event tab. All right, everyone, see you at 3:50.